join in on the fun and grab your glue gun. It's the Preppy Crafty Girl Show.
Hey everyone, it's Jonna, the Preppy Crafty Girl, and I am here for Trinket Tuesday. It's an open collab, and it's open to anyone who wants to participate. All you have to do is use the hashtag Trinket Tuesday and tag me at the Preppy Crafty Girl and show me trinkets that you've made collected from your childhood or things you're collecting now, little bits and bobs around your studio if you want, things that you've made, any kind of little tiny trinket. And I have started a playlist, so if you want to go back, I don't know what week we're on right now, but we've been doing this for about probably 2 months. I think I started back in June. So if you want to go back and see everything and find out what this whole hashtag is about and the whole collab is about, then go find the playlist on my channel and you can follow along, and I hope you get to join in. We've had several people join in on the fun, and this week I've been doing a series I started last week by making these little fun trinkets that you can hang on your journals or your bags, and they are made from felt, and I'm working through a couple of the Sesame Street characters this week. So today is going to be, we're working on Bert because Ernie has to be with Bert. So we're going to work on Bert. Some of the things you'll need is you will need a plastic claw. That's what I put up at the top. It's how you can hang it. If you don't have one of these, you can just use a large jump ring, and then you can attach it that way to anything. So you want to grab yourself some of those. You'll need some matching to the felt, some embroidery floss. You will need a little bit, you don't need a whole lot, but you just need a little bit of fiber fill or stuffing. And then I am going to give you guys a free little gift of it's not this as your printable, but I created some Sesame Street inspired hand-drawn patterns for you guys to use, and it is on my Ko-Fi shop, and I will link that below. You can just go to my Ko-Fi. It's totally free. If you want to leave a donation, you can. It would be much appreciated. It helps me continue my channel, but you don't have to. It's not necessary. Just enjoy, have fun. If you make it, please tag me. I would love to see what you're creating and how you're using it. Some other items you're going to need for this little dude is you are going to need some white felt, black felt, red, and you will need this like a yellowy orange. Now I'm doing 1970s Bert and Ernie. Ernie was like a mustardy yellow, and Bert was kind of this yellowy orange color. As they went through the decades, they kind of changed a little bit of the tone of color. I don't know how much of that is the actual felt changing, or if it's actually because color television got better. I'm not really sure what that factored in. But yeah, so we are going to get started. The other thing you'll need is some of this Beacon Fabri-Tac felt glue. The reason why I use the felt glue is that it does not leave staining through the felt. Some glues like Elmer's and that will leave some staining in the felt, and may not hold it very well, but Fabri-Tac felt glue holds, it bonds really well. It actually bonds felt, glitter to felt, and pom-poms and more. So there's that. And then you'll need some little fine scissors. Alrighty. Let's see. You'll need some embroidery needles, which I need to pull out. Maybe they're down in this little side. You'll need googly eyes for another character that we're going to be making. Probably either next week or the week after, depending on how the series goes. Let me know if you want to see more characters, and I would love to take you on that journey. Okay, so here's a needle. Alrighty. So what we're going to do is you're going to print out your pattern, And this is going to be the base for the head, and I included the neck because the neck is iconic for Bert. You know, he's got to have his little turtleneck on. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut two. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut them at the same time. This is something I was saying in my last video. I used to make 3D felt items for planning and to hang as planner charms, and I haven't made these in a really long time, but I felt like it was a good transfer over into Trinket Tuesday because not everybody has access to going to thrift shops and collecting little bits and bobs. And this is a trinket. It's just a handmade little trinket. And can you imagine, you know, in a few years, someone is going to find these and they'll be on the lookout for little handmade little characters for bag tags. Bag tags eventually, you want to save these because we can use them for other little characters coming up. So you cut out two of those. And then we are going to cut out two of the neck piece. And we're going to cut out two of the little one of the little eyeball pieces. And then we're going to cut out two little round center of the eyeballs. Now, Bert's eyes, as you can tell, are rounder than Ernie's eyes. Ernie's were a little more egg-shaped, and they were on a tilt. Bert's eyes are rounded. And I just kind of do a rough cut real quick, and then I will go back, and after I get them on the head, and kind of trim them down a little, so these are might not be the exact size I need. And then what I do is I leave the eyeballs together, and then I go around and I trim out one. And then I will trim out, and I sometimes won't use the pattern again. I'll use the one that I cut out so that I know it matches. But if it doesn't, you know, this is handmade, not machine made, and that's what gives them their little quirky character, you know. We want it to look handmade. If not, we would purchase them from a manufacturer. Alrighty, so we got our two round eyes, and I think I need to trim. These were just a tad big. This is where it gets a little fiddly. If you need to use a hold it with a tweezer, that could be recommended also, but I can kind of grab it because I do have a fingernail. But how much fun are these? I can't wait to make my journal for the fall and add these on there. All right, so we've got those little eyeballs for Bert. Let's do his neck. And his neck, we are definitely going to need two. Oh, the other thing you're going to need is a paint pen or a permanent marker of some sort, because we will go in and mark the lines for his sweater. So there's one piece. I'm going to keep this little piece. I keep every little thing because we will be making other characters. What you want to do then is we're going to flip it over because it's going to go on the back side. And that's going to be the opposite. Of course, we could probably just flip it over, duh, but I'm gonna trim it like that. So I've got two of those are the neck. And then you will probably go back in after it is all said and done. There, that works. And then we will trim up anything we need to, but they both fit on there nice, so we are good to go there. Alrighty. Save this little piece. Oops, oopsie. And then we're going to cut out the nose. Now with the nose, what you're going to want to do is you are going to want to cut it bigger, about 1/8 of an inch, I would think, around the nose, because we are going to gather it. We're going to stuff it, and you only need to cut one. But just remember that you're going to cut 1/8 of an inch wider than the pattern. Because we are going to stitch around it and gather it and make his nose. You could use a pom-pom, and you could trim the pom-pom down to an oval if you wanted to, but I think it's kind of fun to keep it kind of original to the character. So I'm going to start with the nose. Alright, so what I'm going to do, oop, I forgot to, you definitely want to make a knot. And then you're just going to do a running stitch, which is just down, up, down, up. You probably learned how to do it as a kid. Like I said in my last video, this is a great summer project. You can also sit and cut out all the pieces and work on the pieces while you're watching TV or you're listening to a podcast or an audio book or whatever. It's a fun little nostalgic project. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to get a little bit of batting, and you don't need very much. You literally need a little bit, and as you go, you can give it a haircut and take some off of it because it's hard to get the tiny amount that you need to work with. Whoops, I knew that was going to happen, I was going to get caught up in the eyeballs. All right. So we're going to take that, put that down on top, and as you pull the thread and gather the nose, you're going to tuck in the batting into, or the fiber fill, into the little nose. See, and that was entirely way too much. So once you start gathering and you get it the size that you want it, and we have to consider that it needs to be oval because Bert's nose was oval. So I'm working on the two long sides, and I'm going to gather it in to a little oval, somewhat ball. So I'm just going to stitch in the side and pull in, stitch in the side, and pull in, bring the thread across, again, stitch in the side, pull in. So I'm starting to get that ovally kind of long nose, and then how I'm going to finish the end is I'm going to, well, let me do one more stitch at the top. Okay. Then I'm going to just take this stitch, I'm going to grab this top end of that oval. I'm going to then go to the other end of the oval. I'm going to stitch through and grab the other end. It's a little tough because it's pretty thick right there. Alrighty, and I don't have a sharp. So we're just gonna pull, and you will get the nose shape that you want. And I'm gonna go back again because I want to gather it in just a little bit better. I would say if you're an adult, you could probably use a little sharper needle than what I'm using. Then it might be a little bit easier. Using a little dull one. I think it's more for a cross stitch. Okay. So there's that. Let me get this in. This needs to get tucked in. Yep. And pull that in. Okay. So there's the nose. So let me see how that's gonna look. It's gonna look great. It'll form a little more when we go to stitch it on his face. So I'm gonna take that, I'm gonna set that aside, and then I'm gonna go and get the yellow that matches this one so we can stitch that up and stuff it. Get our needle threaded. To be honest, I think I'm just going to use this one because last time I used my needle threader on that one, it broke my needle threader. And this one is way easier to thread through because it's got a nice big eye opening. And let's see, we're going to need quite a bit of this one because we got to go all the way around and we got to stitch the hook on. So time for a little candy bracelet break. Sometimes you just need a little sustenance. Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to start down here, and then you're going to work your way all the way around doing a blanket stitch. So I'm going to pull. I'm going to take this piece, I'm going to tuck it inside. I'm going to go about 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to come back down and grab through the loop. And that gives you a nice edge there. And I'm just going to work my way around. I will speed the film up so that you don't have to sit here and watch me do this the whole way. All you're going to do is continue on working around. Do not close it up though. You want to leave the bottom open because we are going to stuff it. That's going to give us our nice little trinket head. Okay, So now I'm down at the bottom, and I'm just going to leave this attached because we are going to bring it up through the top, and we're going to stitch on our lobster claw. So first we're going to take some stuffing, and you're just going to work in small little increments because you don't want the stuffing to come through your stitching. So we're just going to, and you don't want to pull out any stitching. And you can use a skewer. I'm just gently using the scissors. You don't want to poke too hard because the scissor will go through it. I just don't have a wooden skewer. You could use a pencil, like if it's not sharpened, that works. I wouldn't use a pokey tool only because it's sharp and it'll just might poke your felt. This is when, I feel this is when he starts to come to life, when you start to stuff it. And I get kind of excited. Not gonna lie. Alrighty, that right there is looking pretty good to me. It's in his ears. You want to get some of that into the ear because we're going to stitch the line of the ear where it attaches to the head. And yeah, that's looking pretty good. I might just put just a teeny bit at the opening right here. I don't know if you can hear that. The birds are singing today. I don't know why. There's one really loud one outside my window. Must just be a happy little bird, but it has a really high-pitched sound. Oh yeah, before we do this, we want to go, I'm sorry, before we do this, we're going to go up through the top of the head. I like to use the body color. I like to use whatever the body color is for my thread. And it doesn't matter for me about this because the hair is going to cover where it attaches, so that's fine if you're going to use one of these. But in case you see the thread like through, and you want to watch where you're stitching this onto the top, to make sure that it's poking through at the right place. So I usually do 4, secures it really well for strength. And I just stitch it to the top of the head like that. And then I will go through and make a little knot at the top here. Not too much. I'm not going to cut it off because we're going to go back down through the body. So I do that, and then I'll come back down through the body, and I'm not going to cut this off just yet. Oops. This needs to go there. You're not going to want to pull too much because you don't want to dent the head in. And I'm just going to leave this attached here. I'm going to take the nose now, and I'm going to attach the nose. And what I do here is I am going to put the eyeballs kind of where I think they need to be. I need to cut a little unibrow, and then of course we're going to have hair. So his eyes are right kind of above the ear line like that. And the nose then will end up going right there, so like that. So what I'm going to do here is, and the only reason why I'm not going to attach the eyeballs right now is because the felt takes a little while to glue. Okay, what you're going to do is we're going to put the nose on, and you are going to put it through the top of the head. Okay, now I'll just remove the eyeballs, and then I'm going to stitch the nose right on to here, and this is where I'm going to kind of position it where I want it, how I want it to look. And then it may look a little wonky at first, but then once you stitch around it, it's going to pull your stitching in. So, and under, you want to just grab it. You want to, I tend to work through the bottom. It's just easier for me. Whoop. And once I get it attached, I can work through. But I find it's a lot easier if you work and pull through to the bottom. So the nose is getting going. I gotta just do it on that one side. You can mush it a little bit so you can get it to how you want it to look. Remember, keep telling yourself this is handmade, so it doesn't need to look machine made. Handmade. It can be done with excellence, just quirkiness and crooked stitches and all that just adds to the aesthetic. So I'm very close to finishing. I'm just wanting to tuck in those last little edges of stitching. Right there. Like that, and I think that that is pretty good there. Okay, I'm just going to then knot it off inside. Oops. Tie a little knot through the loop and trim off. And remember, this is for your bag or your journal or whatever. It's not going to be an animal toy or a kid toy where something can come loose and they can choke on it. You want it for your bag or your journal. Now I'm back to the yellow, and what I'm going to do here, because the rest of the items are being glued on, I'm going to go back and finish doing my blanket stitch. Come down here on the corner, oops, and pick up that stitch. I'm going to come now to the front. And I'm going to pick up that stitch. And I pick up this stitch here. Keep going. And we're just going to seal off the opening to, so you want to go all the way around. Whoop. Pick up that stitch. And there we go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to come up through the body again. I should have done this before I closed it, but it doesn't matter. And what you're going to do is go to the top of the ear, and we're going to make just a running stitch down through his head to create the crease here where the ear attaches to the body. I mean the head. Alrighty, let's see which one of these is that one. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go right down the line, just poking through the whole ear and side of the head, and I'm just going to make a couple of, now his ears are not even because he is kind of looking to the side a little bit. So one ear is a little bit bigger than the other. And then one more stitch, and you want to check the back also. And then in and through, and that'll be his one ear. And then we're going to take this, we're going to go back through the whole body and come out the other side. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side on the ear. And we are going to just tuck it in and just do a straight stitch up, down, like we did on the nose, but we're not going to be gathering. We're just making an outline for the ear. And there we go. Okay, so we have the ears done, and I'm just going to, one last stitch, I'm going to come back through down to the neck. We're going to tie off, and that is going to finish the ears for Bert. So I'm going to tie it off, knot it. I'm going to tug it back inside and out, and I'm going to then cut it really close, pull, and that end should tuck back in like so. And there we have his little head. It's so cute. It's coming together. Okay, now we're going to put the eyeballs on, and the eyeballs sit a little bit into the nose or behind the nose. So all I'm going to do here is add a little dot of glue to the back of the felt and on the eye, and I'm going to just center the eye in the middle of his eyeballs because that's how his eyes sit. And then we will stick them on the head. I did that upside down. That wasn't very smart. There. Okay, so now we have his eyes like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and put some on here where I'm going to want the eyes. Put some on the back of this. On here. Like so. He's looking so cute. Now don't worry about the mouth or the eyebrow because that's going to come in a minute. Let's put the let's go ahead and put his turtleneck on. Like so. Again, you can always trim it up if it doesn't fit perfectly, but I think I did a pretty good job there. And then I'm gonna finish him off by putting it on the back also, so that's why I did 2 of them. I kind of like to finish out the back of the head. When I'm working on this, and you may have to come back and glue a little bit more, fix his eyeballs a little bit, tucking them in. All right, now we're gonna do the fun fur. You're gonna need regular Fabri-Tac for the fun fur, and then we are going to work on his head, and his head has a little bit of tuft. Now, this is where it gets into the mess because fun fur is, oh my goodness, it's so messy. But you're just going to want to cut a piece off, and his hair is very small, like little tuft at the top, so you don't need a whole lot for his head, his hairline. And what I'm going to do is push this back. I'm going to cut off the backing, pull any hair off that does not work. I'm going to cut that a little bit better. And we're going to then put that on the top, and we will give it a little trim after we get it glued down. I'm going to make a second one. That's not going to work. And I'm going to do this for the back, so I'm going to again cut off the backing, pull off any leftover, make it just a little bit smaller. All right. I said after I did Ernie, I was gonna get a lint roller, and I forgot, or Swiffer or something. Alrighty, so next we're gonna need a little piece for his unibrow. We're going to pull the hair out of the way. You're going to trim the back off. Pull the hair down away from the growth, or the way they've tufted it in there. And we're just going to cut the back off because you want to leave the fur on there, right? And then we are going to definitely have to give it a trim. Oh my goodness. We're going to have to definitely come in and give it a trim. But we definitely want the fur. I'm going to clip the little corner just a tad, just to give it a little more rounded look. Set that aside. Let's put his hair on the top of his head. Oh, you know what? Before I do the hair on top of the head, I think I'm gonna use I'm gonna put his mouth on. And what I'm going to do for the mouth is I am going to use some black embroidery floss. And I do this at the end because I want to get his nose and his eyes on first, so I can get a good idea of, whoops, I can get a good idea of the mouth shape. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to, it kind of starts outside the eye line and goes straight across, and it actually comes even with his nose. So I'm going to first come all the way across of where I want the mouth to be, like so. And I'm going to pull that thread all the way in. And I am going to do a tiny little knot on the end. He has these like little crooks on the end of his mouth, and so I'm gonna make that like a little knot, but I'm gonna trim off every little bit of that leftover thread. So I will get that little knot there at the end. You could do a French knot if you want, but you don't have to. And I'm gonna go straight across. He has like a straight across kind of grimace to his face, and so I'm going to try to get that with this. Again, if you do not want to use thread and you want to use a paint marker, you can go ahead. It will sit on the top. So there's his little mouth, and now I'm going to give this a little bit of a tug because I want to shape the face, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back down into that hole where the thread is, and I'm going to just poke down in there, the hole that I stuck it in, and I am going to, this is where it helps to use a little bit, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm going to go down into where this first went in. So right back into there. This is where you want to use a little sharper needle. I wasn't very smart. I'm using a dull needle. And then you're going to come out where the other one came out, approximately. And we're going to put that little dimple in that into place right there. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to go through that. There's a little loop there. You're going to be able to see it. And you're just going to pull up next to it, and then you're going to tie off and make a little knot on the edge of his mouth there. So see how that kind of pushes in to the face, and then what you're going to do is you're going to, I give it a little bit of a tug, and then I'm going to clip it off super, super close to the mouth, and then I get his cute little, I'm gonna have to glue these back on. Maybe I should have done this after because I've moved them, and I'm gonna definitely have to come back in with a lint brush because I've got black fur on my hands. That black fur everywhere. But I don't know if you can see, it kind of dents in right there, gives his face a little more definition, and then you have his cute little like grimace, you know, that he has on his face. So that is that there. And if you want, we can put the lines in to the collar. You don't have to, you can draw them in if you want. I'm going to cut off the excess and just leave the knot. For something like this, this is where I would have done, I would have used a sharper, for sure, sharper needle, because I'm working through, I'm going to be working through a bunch of, I'm going to go ahead and go down into the felt. I'm going to come through the back because I want to redo that same stitch on the back. goodness gracious, this is tough. I thought I had a sharp enough needle. Get a good grasp on it. And you just want to leave like a little loose, some little loose stitching, and then I have it on the back, so we'll go into here and make sure that you do a nice straight stitch here, and we'll bring it back through to the front. Sorry, my hand will not grasp this little needle, thin needle, very well. I've been doing a lot of work outside, and my hands are kind of tired from so we got that. And then we're going to do another straight stitch over here, and I'm going to come up kind of at the top here. So I've got that stitch on the back, and then I'm going to stitch right in to the back like so. So you have his little, I don't know if you can see that, where he has his little lines on his shirt. Maybe we'll come over here, do one more. You don't want to pull it tight because we want to keep the shape of the shirt. And then we'll do one more here, grabbing that back piece like so, and then I'm gonna go ahead and knot it. I'm gonna go ahead and take this and stick it back through the body and pull it out, pulling that in. And then I'm going to cut it. I like to give it a tight pull, cut, and then pull my project out, and that stitch will go sink down in there. And this is where I'm going to kind of come in, get his head a little better gushed. I'm going to, gushed for lack of a word, I'm going to trim up the little sweater a little bit here. There, it's got this. I got to come in with my lint brush afterward and get all the little fun fur off. But we're going to go back to working with the fun fur. And we will put the fun fur on. Let's do his unibrow. So, and then let's do his little tuft of hair right here and on the back. Remember, we are going to trim it, and I just go in like I did on Ernie, and I give him like a little angular cut. I just keep going in and cutting. I'm gonna have to cut some of this back off again. It's a little high. Just kind of keep cutting until you get the look that you want. And if you overcut, you can always go back and pull this off. Go back in. Oh my gosh, when they get their hair, I don't know, it just kind of just finishes it off for me, makes it really fun. I'm gonna go in here and cut that backing off at an angle. Yeah, that's better. And now I'm gonna go and do the same thing on the back. Put some glue here. I am going to round this off for the back. Put it on. So that gives him his little V. And then again, I'm going to come in and give him a little haircut. I'm going to take some of that backing off on the side, right there. And I am going to come in and give him a little haircut. And there you have it. Oh my gosh, Bert's so cute. So cute and so much fun. I hope you're enjoying this series. If you are, please make a comment below. I truly appreciate it. Give me a thumbs up if you're enjoying the content. And I hope you tag me if you're gonna make any of these fun little items. Just tag me at the Preppy Crafty Girl. Show me how you use them. I'd love to see if you end up making it as a summer project with your grandchildren or your kids. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys. So let's see, I think this might be a little too tall. So let's go in here and thin them out a little bit. And like I said, you just have to keep, you just need to kind of keep trimming. You'll come back to it a couple of times and thin out his hair, you know, or whatever. Get it to the shape you want. So there we go, guys. There is my Bert. Now Ernie has his buddy. So here we've got Bert and Ernie. Oh my goodness, it was so much fun doing this project. I will be back for a couple other characters in this Sesame Street inspired little trinket. So don't forget to use the hashtag TrinketTuesday and tag me at Preppy Crafty Girl. I want to see what you're up to. Thanks guys. Bye.